What's up, guys? Welcome to KCS Games, my first Competitive Corner episode. So, we're going to talk about the technically March 1st, or no earlier than March 1st, 2021 banned list. So, as you can see, there's quite a bit on my screen here. I apologize, I'm having to use my phone for this. My recording device on my computer is malfunctioning, so anyway, I wanted to go through not everything that can come off, not everything that's going to get banned, limited, restricted, whatever. Just some things that I feel really, really comfortable saying is going to happen. And I have a bunch of example cards. So first things first, we're going to address King of all calamities. This card is a problem. Its effects are fantastic. The easiest thing to do would be ban it. However, it did nothing for years. And it's one of the top deck's strongest things that it can do this format. So, with lackluster types, I guess this is where I'm going to move into. Lackluster types being supported in S-Force, Warrock, and Spriggan, which I will get to in a moment. I think I only put extra deck cards. Anyway, I honestly think they're going to keep Virtual World in the top. I don't see any reason why they would hit it. Oh, there's another copy. Okay. Yeah, the thing that they're going to hit, in my opinion, would be Cloud Castle. It's a common. It's being played at 2 alongside this thing. The deck can still make calamities. It just wouldn't be able to make 2 right away. There's so many combos where this right here is the problem. Outside of that, there's so many different hand traps, right? So like when they got the new one right here, they got weaker to Lancia. So a lot of their different combos, their new ones, Lancia hurts them a lot. Which, I mean, it did a lot in the beginning anyway, but honestly, it's just kind of crazy. So, and I also wanted to say this card is not a replacement for this. This card is okay at best, but if Virtual World gets destroyed by this being banned, by the way, I just want to say, even if they do ban it, this card's amazing. The deck is not dead. It just becomes a different kind of format, which I'll touch on in a moment. But I'm going to go ahead and remove these cards. If anything, there is a card right here that should get restricted. I don't think you should be able to play more than one of these in a game. Unlike calamities, this card actually does end the game in a sense of dealing with your opponent's board. So if you pair this card with, for example, Dark Ruler No More, they're not going to be able to respond unless they have trap cards, which, assuming you didn't blow them out with Lightning Storm or anything, it's just, oh my gosh, it's so good. You can do it multiple times. It's one of the main reasons why Zodiac Eldritch is doing things. It's like, it's pretty crazy. So I'm not saying this card is worse than getting Calamity, but it's pretty up there. And the thing is, I know they're not gonna restrict it because it's still selling Phantom Rage. So it's just, I think the card should go to 1, and we'll see where it goes from there. I hope they do it, but they probably won't. They'll just keep it up there. So moving on, I just wanted to touch on some things. I think, honestly, next big deck, Drytron. Okay, get out of your head, Benten's not getting hit. I'm sorry. They will sooner ban ultimateness. Ultimateness is the part of the end board, or they will ban ruler. I don't think they'll do either, because Drytron has, even though it's super consistent, it gets blown out. Joel Lockbird blows it out. They actually just cannot function underneath the card. Very little board presence, and it's not the only thing that hits the deck. So there's DD Crow, there's plenty we can side deck against it, right? And so people just have to be side decking the right cards against Virtual World as well, which up until this point they kind of haven't. So anyway, moving on. I don't think they're going to hit anything, but if they do, it's going to be one of the end boards for Drytron, because it's too new to hit the consistency. And that's the same issue with Virtual World. I think they would hit the consistency of the older card, which is Calamities. So that's why I said they'll hit Cloud Castle. So that's my prediction for any of the bans per se. I don't think anything else has a chance of getting banned at the moment. The only reason why I have Dragoon here and access code is actually just to point out that there's every deck that's topping right now is playing a boss card. Like, it doesn't matter if you can play it at 3 or 5 or 0, or 1. You have a boss card every deck, and that's the point. Like, you can't just say this boss card is stronger than the other. Like, Dragoon is not stronger than Calamities, and vice versa. I don't think Calamities, I think they're on the same power level. They're just nuts in their own right. Calamities has outs if you don't have Chuchi, or however you pronounce it, the trap, to pop it. There's combos where they waste Chuchi, in my opinion, too early, and you can't deal with it. So that's not to mention the fact that Dragoon is really just played in a lot of decks in general, and it's allowing a lot of rogue to see success. I mean, we just saw the remote duel. It's not an extravaganza. I forget what it's called. Invitational? Yeah, I think that's what it is. We just saw it be won with Dragoon, but yet Calamities is the problem. Calamities got second, but I mean, what went undefeated was Drytron. It's that kind of circular like thing that happens. And then we've seen Rocks even come back after, Black Dragon was the only reason why this deck was good. Oh, it's so bad. But now they found like this weird prank kid little engine, and you know, they could have been doing that all along and no one really paid attention to it. Well, I mean, when Meow Meow first came out, I guess, no one was paying attention to it. People were just being lazy, and they're complaining and not finding ways. That's the way I feel about it. And Konami's probably going to listen to some of it just because they like favoring us because, you know, we buy their stuff. But only a little bit. I mean, they haven't been really super responsive. I mean, how long have we asked for LP to get banned? LP, I'm sorry, an E-Telly from the extra deck, that's a little too far. So having the ability to summon any dragon from your deck is, whew, it's really strong. But anyway, needless to say, this card doesn't even deserve to get banned right now. I don't think anything's gonna get banned. That's just my personal opinion. There will be cards that go to 1. I can see that for sure. Japan had Nadir Servant, and I believe it was Meltdown for the Dogmatica strategy. The reason why I don't think that will happen here, hold on, I want to get rid of these cards so I can focus. I don't think that'll happen here because honestly, we have, first of all, we haven't gotten caught up by any means. So we, how do I put it this way? Like, there's still lore, right? So it's very odd for the US to hit something before it finishes its lore. Um, so it's definitely not getting banned, but it could potentially go to 1, I suppose. It would shut down a lot of. I mean, this deck has had tops. That's another thing too. This deck does nothing, almost nothing oppressive. It's just like 3 decks combined that can like make a Winda, and like, how is Winda the same level of, disruption as Calamities? Well, against a lot of decks, it is. Excuse me. It has built-in protection, and like, it's easy to summon, but through a combo, right? And that's what I'm kind of touching on. Like, everything has a combo. Even Tri-Brigade, like Tri-Brigade Lyrilisk has a combo, ends on barrier statue. That thing is actually like a solid lock, right? But it gets shut down by certain hand traps. That's just the format, guys. And if you're going to be on very, very heavy back row, Dragoon's probably your boss card. And that's just the way it is. And, honestly, I think it's good. Like, the format's pretty even. We don't see dinos running rampant, even though everyone is calling for Misk to get banned. Have you read Misk? Have you read this? Have you read Inspector Porter? It's pretty much the same thing for stun. Something that I also wanted to mention, I think they created this card as another way to out Calamities. So I think that's a big hint. Sorry, guys. As you can see, it's 4:31 a.m. Making this very, very late. I'm so sorry for my yawning. But anyway, as you can see, like, stun decks are topping. Oh, I was on Mirador. I apologize. They balanced the card like very well and made it to where it only hits certain key cards. So I just want to touch on it. Like, Subterror is not like stupid strong, right? The Floodgates is what does it. Every deck has like a consistent engine right now, and I think that's why we're either gonna see like little slaps on the wrist all across the board to help push some of these newer decks that aren't very like strong on their own, or we're gonna not see really anything change. The only big changes I could see happening, unfortunately, would be Max C if we're gonna get this card, which that is the only time I ever want to see this card off the list. I don't want to see it at 1. I don't want to see it at 2. I want it at 3. I want it to where everyone gets to play with it. If that, it's just so sacky at 1 or 2. I don't even want to get started on it. It's just, we're gonna move on. Goodbye, Maxi. But yeah, Crossout Designator is ultimately why I think people called like this card getting hit in the first place, but we still haven't had this card yet. I think the sales were for Tactics, which has proven to be a decent substitute, but it's no out to droll. And like, people have learned to play around the card, so it's not nearly as good. But yeah, anyway, I wish Callby would come back to 3. Like, that card is super balanced and helps every single deck. I don't care what they are. I mean, even Stun can play it. You'll see over here I have a couple other cards like the Pots. So I just want to discuss these cards real quick. So no one's really talking about like how cracked Pot of Prosperity actually is. It doesn't have a downside. I don't care what it says on the card. There's no downside. If you build your deck and you build it correctly, you will be able to banish 3 to 6 cards easily. You just have to know your situations, and it's slowly proving to be the most impactful card of the format because it can find you almost anything. So it is the searcher of unsearchable cards. I don't have the percentages offhand, but like If you dig 6 deep in a 35 card deck after you've drawn your 5 cards, you have like an 80% chance of finding the card, something like that. Whew. Wow, that's a game changer. Speaking of game changers, we have... I just want to touch on this card. So this card, I think there's only like 2 decks that should be playing this over Prosperity, and that's Dinosaur and oh shoot, what was the other one? I can't think of it. I'm so sorry, guys. There was another deck that I had in mind, but it slipped my mind. I'm so sorry. But anyway, the main reason why is because Prosperity only finds you 1 card. Sometimes certain decks just fight off of card economy, and this pot gets you 2 cards without affecting your deck at all. And I was gonna say in Desires, so it just depends on your build of like, I only think Desires is good in 1 deck this format, and that's Virtual World, because it's a +1, and I keep going back and forth between this and Prosperity. Prosperity is really good, obviously, but it makes it to where you can't play number 75. The Gossip Shadow, here, just in case you need a picture. Number 75. This guy. So, if you Prosperity, you can't actually negate anything, because it requires you to draw a card. It's rough. So the only one that really bothers me is like not being able to set up something to stop Lancia. But honestly, if they're smart, they're cracking it immediately against you. So this card's like not nearly as good. You can play through Nibiru, it doesn't matter. Nibiru's, I was going to touch on that too. I think this card's bad. I'm sorry. I see it in like almost every list. I'm just like, there's so many stun decks right now. Drytron can usually play through, if not, still land on something. Virtual World 100% still can play through and make calamities. So you have to have Nibiru and something else. Yeah, this card's not as good as Gamma. Gamma shuts off things. Gamma gets in there, but it's really hard to play going first in a lot of different decks. So it's really weird. I will touch on Eldlich here in just a second. Just finishing up my thoughts. So everyone freaked out when Pot of Avarice came back, right? Like, well, I don't want to say like everyone, because I think there's a bit of banishing still going on. But like, DD Crows, they're seeing play, and like, I just can't say how important hand traps are right now. If your deck's not playing at least 9, you're a back row deck. Like, and back row is really prevalent too. I was gonna touch on that too. Oh man, I'm everywhere tonight. I'm so sorry. Anywho, so back on that. Oh yeah, so I wouldn't ban Misk, but I'd put Fossil Dig to 1. I'm just throwing every little bit here. Joel's fine. Lancey's fine. Miradora, yep, all that. Okay, we talked about the pots. Going second cards. Yeah, let's go with that. So yeah, we've covered that. Going second cards. So the reason why Imperm is really good going second, it's good in the side deck because it's actually decent a lot of the time. A lot of people have started finally incorporating it into their sideboards, but the reason why I kind of fell off is because it did nothing to calamities, right? Because Chuche could pop it, and you wouldn't be able to do anything. That's why Gamma was so strong, because it could actually still shut off calamities. But we have Imperm being so clutch against rocks and like all these like side strategies. It's really good against Winda. It's I mean, that's a mainstream strategy too, the Dogmatica stuff. But I think Imperm is going to start picking up. It's not anything that should be getting hit. I think it's just the point of, there's just a lot this format. and everyone's complaining about something. There's just a lot of really, really, really good cards in the format, and I don't think people are used to that. You can pick just about any deck out of those top ones, and as long as you know what you're doing, and you can, you draw not a brick, and you execute your plays, like a lot of your plays are your opponent has to have it. Your opponent has to have the draw if you're playing Drytron. Otherwise, you're going to get to everything you need. Your opponent has to have the Lancia against Tri-Brigade. Your opponent has to have the Lancia against VW. Virtual World is probably the best deck, but it also bricks. So, like, it's really weird. I think that's the balance, honestly, is the fact that it can brick. So anyway, yeah, things that exist in the format that, are quite unfair that belong to archetypes are Numeron Network. Hidden City does a lot for their deck. It's a search. I mean, like, Numeron Network gets you Zexal. Like, people were calling for Zexal to get banned, but, like, Megaclops is, in a lot of cases, way better. I mean, not since Zeus is a thing, but, like, if you're facing a deck that doesn't play Zeus, like, it's really hard for them to out. Even back row decks struggle against this thing, like, because usually you just summon him and then, like, that's your 4K beater. So, like, they have to be on something that's, like, more than needle sealing. Speaking of which, a lot of boards this format lose to needle sealing and strike. So that's, like, why trap decks are coming back. I think, honestly, we could see Heavy Storm come off the list finally. That's how much back row actually does have the advantage, and people just don't realize it. Like, well, some people do. Let's talk about Eldland. So there are 6 hand traps that are being played in a lot of decks, but most recently, Ghost Bell has kind of dropped off, leaving the question of, is Sanguine and Nadir actually going to get hit on the ban list? Because this card is the consistency point of Eldritch, which is the best trap deck of the format, in terms of just generically being able to play traps. Obviously, Subterror is insane with floodgates, because they have, like, no floodgates that bother them. But, like, I'd like to see Eldritch become more of a zombie deck instead of, solely relying on what it does now, which is, like, 50 back row. But I was going to touch on Lightning Storm, too. So a lot of people were calling for this card to go to 1 a while ago, and now people were, like, not even knowing if they should play it. Because, like, there's certain cards, like Dark Roller No More, and other things. Like, this card's really good paired with something, unless you're facing back row, which that's the whole point. Like, that's why I think Storm can come back, because, like, this card still doesn't see play over, I don't know if it's the cost of the card or what, but some people prefer Cyclones, some people prefer Twin Twister, that kind of stuff. It's interesting, put it that way. But yeah, I think Storm can come back. I also think Sekka's Light can come back. BA has been at full power for an entire format now. PK got a crazy amount of stuff to support it, and nothing. We've had very hit and miss tops, nothing consistent out of the deck. They got Rusty back, still nothing. Like, give them this. Give them a Pot of Greed. Like, they can't really function. It doesn't do anything to Virtual World. Calamities beats the deck. Which I know those type of people are definitely like, oh, well, we have to ban Calamities. Well, pick up some droplets. I know how that sounds, but it's kind of true. Play Gamma, play Lancia, play those cards that stop the decks, and you will see more success. speaking about Droplet, it's honestly, it's so like it's one of the most expensive cards in the format, but it's so weird how it interacts with so many different decks. So like, I say this card's really good in stuff like Drytron because it gives you a chance to play going second, but you need your hand traps more, and the deck has so little space in the main, so you end up side decking this card. Well, I think this card in this format being side decked is actually incorrect. So if you already know like you need it against Dragoon, you have to be maining it. If you don't have a main deck out to Dragoon, you're just sacking a game one against like half the meta. Because like that's what they're landing on is a Dragoon. If you can't out Dragoon, you need to fix your deck. So the catch is like Drytron needs to be on other cards, so other things that stop, Anaconda from going into it, or Ash to stop Red Eyes Fusion, that kind of stuff. So yeah, anyway. Kind of went off on a tangent there, but the card's so iffy for me. Like I said, some decks can play it. I don't think it's for every deck by any means, but I think it's really good in Eldritch, honestly, because Calamities wasn't doing anything to you anyway. That's not the point. It's honestly, you want it for Dragoon, and then like you want to be able to pitch your traps. And it's also really good against like weird matchups like Dinos. Like you can set it since it's quick play, and you just like they go to conductor you in the battle phase, and you stop them. And I mean, Dino's not like top tier anymore, but I think you guys get the picture. Anyway, my point was there's a whole bunch of floodgates, whole bunch of other things that could get hit. I only see them hitting cards like the consistency cards, right? And also just a little tidbit for me. You're gonna see what's it called? IGAS, ignition assault. That's what it stands for. Ignition assault, eternity code, and rise of the duelist, along with secret slayers. Those are the 4 that are gonna be in the 10s in August. Keep that in mind. Get your Phantom of Rage cards now before they spike. We have some weird things coming out in Lightning Overdrive. They're going to bump up some weird decks. They're going to bump up some good decks. We'll see what ends up sticking. Yeah, I don't think they're going to push anything this ban list for their upcoming sets. I think they're just going to let us play it out. They could do some wild stuff because we are under the quarantine series, if you get the drift. So, yeah, we could see stuff like Mirage Stalio. I definitely expect to see Firewall at least come to 1. It also kind of hints towards the 10s having promos, because I would really find this hard to believe that Konami's only printing this as a ghost rare to bring it back off of just being a ghost rare. That seems really wrong to me. And so I definitely think there's going to be promos in the 10s, and Firewall probably is going to be one of them. So that'll be interesting to see what kind of promo things are. I'm sure there's some things that we haven't gotten from Japan yet. Who knows? Maybe that's where we'll put cross-out designator. I doubt it, because the 10s are going to be so amazing to begin with. There's so many good stable cards, so many good side deck cards that are going to be in there. I definitely could see them hitting, stuff like Alistair, or, well, not Alistair himself, Meltdown. I could see them hitting Meltdown first, and then slowly going after the rest of the older stuff that's still seeing play. Only reason why I could see Mirage Stalio is because errata got changed to the errata on Firewall changed it to Cyberse only, and that sort of pushes Salamangreat, but this would really push it into saying, hey, play us in Salamangreat. Speaking of Salamagrate, wow, that's still a deck. Yeah, it can end on Dweller or Baguska and really mess up someone's day. Dweller's really, really good this format, and like no one's making it. Like there's so many so many decks exist that can make Dweller, and just they're not. They're ending on different boss cards, and I think that's part of the problem. They're just like the materials that they would make a Dweller with, they're going into Anaconda and risking summoning Dragoon. And like, I'm sorry, this turns off decks. This turns off a card. Like, this is a boss card. I get that, but no. So yeah. Anyway. Oh, also, I was gonna say I think Natis could probably go to 1. That's probably a US thing that could happen. Yeah, and if they're tired of Dragon Link, they'll just hit quick launch to 1 and probably ban LB. I don't think that'll ever happen though. It survived like 5 lists where we've been asking for it. So yeah, anyway, and then I wanted to talk briefly about this guy real quick. He's really good. I think we all know this, and he's definitely getting the reprint in the 10s. My question is, how useful do you think he will be in terms of, like, for example, Salad or Salamagrate? Like, are they gonna have the room for Firewall? I don't actually think they will. So it'll be interesting to see what people do. I don't know that Firewall is gonna be worth it. But yeah, just I guess if you want to interact with me, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this card. What its applications are going to be in the future with stuff like, oh yeah, I didn't even talk about that. Masquerena. We could actually see this card get banned. Just because of how crazy the new Link 5 was. I can't even tell you what the name of Underworld. It's Underworld something. Yeah, here it is. Sweet. Yeah, Underworld Goddess. So yeah, you can use your opponent's sponsor. That's really broken if you can do it on your opponent's turn. So IP Masquerena might actually see some sort of thing happen to it if Konami's actually paying attention. Outside of that, yeah, so Dogmatica stuff probably isn't going to get hit. I think I mentioned that. Main reason I feel is because of the lore, and Spriggans are a heck of a deck. Guys, machines, they're so good right now. More people need to play it, like, honestly. Like, not just Spriggans, like, but like machines. Earth Machine is like the best it's ever been. And it can actually play through some of these stupid things, and it can play back row if need be. It can set boards up. It can do a lot of things that every other deck's doing. And yet I see not like hardly any of you guys playing it. So it's interesting to me. But yeah, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Just gonna double check. But yeah, ultimately, I don't know if I touched on Necker Valley. Yeah, Gravekeeper, like, combo thing with Dragoon was being a thing, and that was just going to be like a tangent where I talked about how, you know, it's just, in general, there's so many different strategies. Like, just because it can do all these crazy things doesn't mean it's good. Like, there's better routes. There's more consistent decks. And you just have to look at what Konami's pushing. Like, that's what you have to look at. You have to look at future sets. So yeah, my biggest takes is I hope to see nothing banned, honestly. So nothing banned. I don't think it needs it. If they're going to, I mentioned what they were. I think so yeah, a little bit of a recap. Cloud Castle will probably get banned. I think that's the correct ban, let me put it that way. I don't think Calamities needs it. There's outs. I'm sorry, guys. You just have to play them, unfortunately. That's just the way it is. Like, I don't think it's ban worthy. They could hit it to 1, but it won't matter. So Yeah. Anyway, it's kind of like how we were with Misk. I think calamities. Not that it's gonna fall out of favor, but it's not going to be as strong because people are like they're catching on how to play around it, or not necessarily play around it, but play cards that do things to it, or play more back row, which that's why I mentioned Heavy Storm and stuff. So actually, I think we're gonna go into a interesting format where a lot more decks are gonna be slower, and we're gonna see a lot more back and forth. Yeah, it's been a really nice format, and even though every deck has a power card and every deck has something to complain about, I'm more interested to see what the new decks are going to bring to the table, because like we got to see something cool with Tri Brigades so far with Lyrilisc. We have a new contender in the building. It definitely does things. I want to see how Eldritch holds up if it gets hit. Definitely will have to lean on its buddies, Dogmatica and Zoo and stuff. We'll just have to see where things lie. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here, guys. Let me know what you think. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on that bell, get notifications for my weekly videos. I'm going to be doing Tuesdays for the what to do. I think I described that plenty in a couple other videos, but yeah, what to do is on Tuesdays, and Wednesdays we have the Kompetitive Corner. And I know this video is coming out a little later than I wanted, but I had to get it out. It's a banlist video. It's got to go out before banlist happens. And on Thursdays, I'm either going to be doing Pokemon, VGC. The meta's kind of stale at the moment. Well, we have like 4 days before it gets stale is what I meant to say. We're going backwards if you haven't been keeping up. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, Pokemon or Throwback Thursdays, where I talk about GOAT format, maybe have a couple deck lists, touch on other formats. I actually played a lot back then, and it was really good time for the game. And then Saturdays, I'm going to go over what I played for my Friday local, and just kind of give more insight on certain decks. Spoilers, it's probably going to be Lyrilisc Tri Brigade. I really like that deck, and I really hope my card comes in. I want to try 2 of that card. But anyway, yeah. Have a good night, guys.